The boy's shoes were torn, his shirt too big for his small frame, and his eyes carried the kind of sadness that made the entire auditorium fall silent before he even spoke. The stage lights revealed not a polished star but a child who had lived through storms far heavier than his age should have known. He held a cheap, battered microphone, its silver paint peeling off, borrowed from a kind neighbor who believed in his dream. His small hands trembled as the music began to play, and for a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. Then it happened. The first note of Hotel California escaped his lips, soft and haunting, carrying a weight that pierced straight into the hearts of everyone listening. The song wasn't just a melody. It was a confession, a diary written in sound, telling stories of nights spent on cold pavements, of hunger that gnawed at his stomach, and of laughter he shared with his younger sister even when they had nothing. His voice cracked with truth, trembled with hope, and soared with pain, painting pictures so vivid that the audience forgot they were at a talent show. They weren't just hearing him sing, they were witnessing his life unfold. One judge covered her mouth, tears filling her eyes, while another leaned in, whispering, "This boy isn't just performing, he's telling us who he is." Yet, behind that powerful voice was no dream of fame, no craving for applause. He wasn't there for himself. Every note carried a single purpose, to win enough so he could buy medicine for his sick mother, waiting quietly outside the hall, too weak to walk inside. In that moment, the boy wasn't chasing stardom. He was fighting for love. As his voice climbed higher, filling every corner of the hall, a quiet storm brewed in the background. His song was raw, undeniable, yet not everyone believed what they were seeing. A murmur spread through the audience. Was this just another sympathy act? A poor boy with a sad story? The skeptical whispers stung, though he could not hear them. On the judges' panel, one leaned back with folded arms, unimpressed. She whispered to her colleague, "Talent must stand alone. We cannot let stories blind us." Her words were sharp, like a test from fate itself. The boy's voice cracked under pressure, but instead of breaking, he pressed forward, gripping the microphone as though it were the only thing keeping him alive. Then, without warning, the microphone sputtered and died, cutting the music short. The silence that followed was unbearable. Gasps filled the room. Some expected tears, others thought he would walk off in shame. But he did something extraordinary. He kept singing. No music, no microphone, just his pure, unfiltered voice. The crowd, moved by his courage, began clapping in rhythm, their hands becoming his orchestra. The hall transformed. Even the skeptical judge sat up straighter, eyes glistening, as strangers united with the boy, refusing to let him stand alone. When the final note lingered in the air, a heavy silence followed, the kind that feels sacred, almost untouchable. The boy lowered his head quickly, bowing as if to apologize for not being enough, for daring to stand on that stage in his worn-out clothes. For a few heartbeats, no one moved, no one spoke. And then, like a dam breaking, the audience exploded. People leapt to their feet, clapping, crying, cheering with voices that shook the walls. The boy froze, stunned, eyes wide in disbelief. Never in his life had anyone clapped for him, not at school, not in the streets where he sang for coins, not even in the small gatherings where he was often overlooked. This moment felt unreal, as if he had stepped into a dream he was not worthy of. He searched the crowd until his eyes found the doorway, where his mother, frail and pale, leaned weakly against the frame. She couldn't enter the hall, but her trembling lips curved into a smile that held all the pride she had carried for years. And then it happened. The strict judge, the one who had doubted, pressed her hand down on the button. Golden lights exploded above, confetti rained like blessings, turning his rags into a crown. The golden buzzer. The boy collapsed to his knees, sobbing, not out of victory, but out of relief. This was not his triumph alone. This was medicine for his mother, books for his sister, hope for his family. Yet deep inside, a haunting thought remained. Would they still love him if they knew he nearly quit Backstage, too ashamed of his poverty to face the spotlight? Backstage, the noise of celebration still thundered from the stage, but the boy slipped quietly into the shadows, as though afraid the moment wasn't his to keep. His mother, struggling to stay on her feet, reached out for him. He rushed to her side, wrapping his thin arms around her. "Mama," he whispered, his voice trembling, "this is for you." Before she could answer, a staff member hurried over. "We need you for interviews, the world wants to see you." The boy froze. Fame felt too heavy, too strange, like a jacket far too big for his shoulders. Just then, footsteps approached. It was the stern judge, the one who hadn't believed. She stopped in front of him, her eyes softer now, glistening with tears. "You reminded me tonight," she said quietly, her voice breaking, "that talent isn't about being flawless, it's about being true. Your truth saved me. Years ago, I lost my son. Hearing you sing, for a moment, it felt like he was here again." The boy's breath caught, his heart pounding. He had never imagined his voice could heal someone else's wound. The judge knelt before his mother, taking her frail hand. "You raised a boy the world will never forget." Cameras captured the moment, but what the world saw wasn't just victory. It was love, grief, and humanity converging. A bond forged not by fame, but by kindness. Weeks later, the boy was no longer just a contestant, his name was on headlines, his face on screens, his story whispered in homes. Yet, when the cameras left, he was not at parties or red carpets. He was in a crowded hospital ward, standing beside his mother's bed. She was recovering now, her cheeks no longer pale, her smile returning with strength. Nurses recognized him, asking for photos, but he waved them off gently. Holding his mother's hand, he whispered, "This is my real trophy." When the final competition arrived, the stage glittered with lights, dancers, and grand spectacles. Contestants dazzled with fireworks and polished routines, each performance louder than the last. And then, it was his turn. He walked out barefoot, dressed simply, carrying nothing but his heart. He lifted the microphone and spoke softly, "This song is not just for me. It's for every person who ever felt invisible, for every child who dreamed despite hunger, for every family that only had love to survive." As his final note soared, the hall fell into complete stillness. No pity, no doubt, only awe. His mother, watching from the front row, whispered through her tears, "Son, you gave me life twice, once when I gave birth to you, and again when you gave me hope." In that moment, the boy understood. His voice wasn't just his gift, it was his legacy.